Western Sydney and the Cumberland Plain woodland is a really diverse ecosystem. It offers so much habitat to so many different species. Many of them are really beneficial. You're going to want to have them around because they eat some of the pests and they pollinate our crops and they do so much more. The birds have got beautiful song. If we want them in our gardens and we want to be part of protecting this critically endangered ecosystem, we've got to create the habitat in our gardens. And that means bringing in native plants and building something very special. So a few weeks ago, I came here and I looked at this section of the garden and it looked run down. And I thought, hang on a tick, this is an opportunity for a beautiful habitat garden. With these great gum trees surrounding us that are full of hollows, making them, in effect, habitat high-rises, and I know there are lots of animals living in them, it's the perfect position to create a habitat garden because the stars are already here. So we've put the retaining walls in, we've backfilled it with some native soil mix, and that gives us the opportunity to make a beautiful creation. Can you believe somebody was going to throw this out? This old pond is going to be the centerpiece in the beautiful habitat garden. It's going to be the frog's jacuzzi. Now I've chosen this spot underneath this majestic gum tree. And as the sun makes its way around, it's actually going to cast a shadow on our pond. And baby tadpoles like that because it stops the water getting too warm. They don't like it too hot. The other advantage is, in all these trees around here, it's beautiful habitat. And for that reason, they're full of tree frogs. And it's quite likely after a hot summer storm, they're going to come down for some romance, they're going to croak up, and guess what? It's going to get full of frog eggs. Well, that was fun. So the frog jacuzzi is to depth regulations and it's looking great. So what we've done here is we've put the pond down fairly level with the soil, but it's a little bit higher. And the reason for that is any runoff coming from the garden around it isn't going to flow into the pond and make it really dirty. Now, the rocks around the outside, not only do they look great and they make beautiful habitat, but they're a spot that the frogs are going to want to go into. They're like bungalows. And this is where male frogs are going to nestle in and they're going to choose to call from when they're looking for the ladies. Just as with these rocks, down in the bottom of the pond, there's also a range of rocks and some gravel. And those rocks and gravel, they've got nooks and crannies as well. And that helps to keep the tadpoles safe. Safe from birds, safe from things like dragonfly nymphs, and safe from each other, because tadpoles are really cannibalistic. This log, it came down in a storm and it was way too beautiful to be used as firewood. So what I've done is I've run it into the pond, and that serves a few purposes. Firstly, baby frogs, they can use it to climb out, and it's even got a hollow, so definitely some green tree frogs might want to live in there. The other thing that's good about it is if any birds or animals were to get stuck in this pond, they could easily get out, especially as the water level drops and there's a bit more of an edge. And lizards, they're going to love to bask on it. And birds will also come and get a drink off it. Now, if I wasn't limited to a preformed pond that I was recycling and I was using a pond liner or some other type of mould, I would have different depths in the pond. And the reason for that is a deeper pond has got cooler water lower down. So those tadpoles can choose to live in warm water or cool water. And I'd actually make it a fair bit bigger. And the reason for that is larger ponds don't get as warm, and that means the algae doesn't grow as much, and so you don't get the whole green look about it, because you want a beautiful centerpiece. Now that brings me to a really important point. Ponds are a body of water, and we want to have people safe around them. So if this was in an area where there were children or a public space, I would definitely put mesh over the top of it. That way, nobody could walk on it and fall into it and there's no drowning risk. Or you could put a fence along the outside and people couldn't get in, such as a pool fence. So all we need to do now is get some plants in the water, and within no time, hopefully, we've got some beautiful residents croaking their magic from the side. So I've just gone and got my feet wet and been in one of my other habitat ponds. And the advantage is I've got all these great plants, most of which are local and none of them are invasive. And this star here is Bladderwort. It's a mosquito gobbler. And it's got these tiny little bladders on it which suck the mosquitoes in and eat them and leave the tadpoles alone. This has to be one of my favourite parts of the pond creation, planting the pond out. Now, these plants don't look beautiful just yet. We're in a bit of a cool season, but by the time summer comes around, they're going to be really nice and big. So all I'm going to do is pull off some of the leaves that are a bit dead and not the most appealing. We'll take them off. I'm actually going to leave a bit of the clay on the bottom because that's where some of the bacteria is, plus it contains the roots. I'm just going to pop it down and nestle the gravel and the rocks on top to hold it in place. And as I was saying, a little bit of dirt and things, it's not going to hurt at all. Now you want your pond to have about 50% of the time some shade on it. So I'm actually going to put some of these plants, like this yellow ornamental iris, around the front, because that's going to help give shade really in the heat of summer. And these reeds and these rushes and this iris, they're all going to grow. And you don't want them to completely cover the pond because that reduces the amount of water. So about once a year I would come in and I'd actually thin some of them out and put them in the compost because they make great soil. Ponds aren't built in a day, you know. If you don't feel confident that you could identify a plant, there are plenty of online nurseries and nurseries that you can go to that specialise in water gardens, and they'll direct you to some great plants which are native, non-invasive and fantastic for your pond, such as this native hairy nardoo. Still a little bit of bladderwort, mosquito muncher. So now that the frog jacuzzi is full of the plants, a few things are going to happen. Firstly, these plants might look a little bit sad and sorry right now, but within a few weeks they're going to straighten up and they'll look good. The other thing they're going to do is they're going to provide some beautiful habitat for those tadpoles. So the tadpoles will live amongst them, it'll help to feed the tadpoles, the frogs might lay their eggs on them, and the other thing that these plants are going to do is all those gum leaves and bits of nutrients that end up in the water, these plants are going to use that nutrients. And the beauty of that is that's going to reduce the amount of algae that's going to grow in here. And as they get taller, in time, they'll provide shade, keeping the water a bit cooler. And look at it, instantly, you've got a natural looking water body. Isn't it beautiful? All we need to do now is just wait for the frogs to start calling. Now this is a beauty. It's an old hollow fence post, and I'm choosing it to be our lizard log. Basically, because it's so long and hollow, any blue tongues or water skinks or water dragon can get nice and safe in there. And it's really protected from predators because a fox or a cat couldn't easily reach it. So all that I'm going to do now is I'm going to dress it with a few more logs, make it look really natural. That adds a few more nooks and crannies, a bit more better habitat value, and after that we can begin our native planting. Watch episode 2 where we get the plants in the ground and create some special habitat.